Welcome back to Stacy on the Right here on SiriusXM The Patriot. StacyOnTheRight.com and FamilyVisionMedia.org are the websites where you can find out more. Right now, it's my pleasure to welcome Mike Howell, Senior Advisor for Executive Branch Relations at the Heritage Foundation. Mike, thank you for joining us tonight.
Hey, thank you for having me.
Hey, it's good to talk to you. I was waiting all day to hear the big splash of executive orders that were issued, and it seems like it was done with a little less fanfare than I expected. What is the lay of the land? What has the new president decided as it pertains to EOs on his first day?
Well, some of the announcements of executive actions, aside from just orders, are still rolling out. I think my latest count is about 17 executive orders. One of the most consequential ones just came out of DHS. This is a DHS, not necessarily executive order, but an action. They're ending what's known as the Remain in Mexico program, whereby people, waiting for asylum have to do it in Mexico instead of being, released into the interior of the U.S. So that's like a major step. It's to let people in the country, and the first kind of salvo of the opening, the borders. There's an executive order also to stop construction of new border wall. Keep in mind, Congress appropriated funds for this. Congress already decided, to spend money building more wall. And then yesterday, the confirmation hearing for the new DHS secretary, believe it or not, he is considering tearing down existing wall. They're going to go back and talk to their lawyers and see what they can do. But believe me, if they can't do it legally or get away with it, they're going to do it. Now, also on the environmental front, they rejoined the World Health Organization, which was basically an arm of the Chinese propaganda machine in terms of pushing early COVID misinformation and some of the blame game that went around. Remember when China said that COVID wasn't spread by human-to-human transmission? Well, the World Health Organization pushed that. Now we're back in it. The World Health Organization is not going to change for the better if we just jump back in without any consequences. So it's really bad on that front, and it fits a just more general mode of attack for the left, where they really want American interests to be subservient to international organizations, whether it's the UN or any of these other international groups. They worship at this altar of international organizations and globalism. Amongst other things, the travel ban, that's misnomered the Muslim ban by the left. It was never a Muslim ban. There wasn't a Muslim ban. It applied to countries that, weren't all majority Muslim. It made no distinction as to an individual traveler as to what their religion is. What it did was countries that had terrorism problems, couldn't screen their people adequately, we didn't let them in. And you know what happened? It kept us safe. They're getting rid of it on day one because it's politically correct, and folks on the left are convinced that it was a Muslim ban because they hated Trump so much. Student loan forgiveness. So we all know that it's a huge dream of the left to, forgive student loans altogether. Well, they took the first step by extending forgiveness on payments for the foreseeable future. It's a regressive policy to end up forgiving student loans because it rewards people who, went and got expensive educations for didn't get jobs that they, could pay the bills, and it punishes people who worked hard, got jobs, and made the right educational choices. It's a tax on those who didn't go to college and pursue higher education and work in some blue-collar industries and are doing well for themselves. They're being punished for not, going to college and getting that gender studies degree. And those are just of the few things. We also got Paris Climate Agreement. The White House decided to rejoin this agreement that'll devastate the American energy industry, all for perhaps, maybe, if everything works out, a couple tenths of the Celsius degree in 15 years. But in the meantime, it'll cost 400,000 jobs. The average family, $20,000 in added energy costs. It's a real shot to American industry and American workers, again, for this kind of joining international organizations and doing the bidding of other countries. So it was a big day out of the White House. They hit the ground running. I
have a couple of questions.
Mm-hmm.
So, Mike, on the Paris Accord, isn't the Paris Accord more like a treaty in its scope and scale, and shouldn't it be ratified by Congress instead of being done through an executive order?
Yes, that was absolutely. And you're right to remember that when Obama did it, he did it by this kind of accord as opposed to a treaty because Congress would never pass this thing. The American people don't want it. Senators aren't going to sign up in energy-dependent states with the big industries and sacrifice their workforce at the altar of globalism. So it's coming out of D.C. It's just the president signing up the country for something he really doesn't have the authority to do.
Doesn't it? Of course. So don't we then? The same thing the liberals would do is they'd say, you don't have the power to do that, President Trump, and they would sue. Can't we get a nationwide injunction on the Paris Climate Accord? We have now 230 new judges, 3 new Supreme Court justices. This is not something that the president should be able to do.
Yeah, you theoretically could. One of the issues with the Paris Climate Accord is some of the mandates in it aren't really enforceable. So it'd be an interesting legal theory to get there, but better believe that if the shoe was on the other foot, liberal judges would have nationwide injunction on it yesterday. So I expect there will be some sort of legal efforts. I think broadly speaking, the conservative legal reaction to a lot of what's going to happen is going to be very interesting. I mean, we saw 4 years of nationwide injunctions and judicial activism. So it's going to be a lot to see how conservative judges react and if they use some of the tools that the left deployed against President Trump here.
So you said it was a momentous day. Does it end here, or are we going to find, another round of executive orders tomorrow or on Monday? What have you heard so far about the plan for more of this?
Oh, there's going to be a ton. I think the only thing that limited them today was time. We're projecting just dozens and dozens of more executive orders over the coming weeks, as well as legislative pushes. I mean, the absolute distinction in space between some of the rhetoric today in terms of unity versus the action, it's huge. It's stark. It's striking. As I like to put it, they're going full hog. They're throwing for the end zone, and they're doing it early because I think they deep down know that the country does not have a far left appetite. There's a small window of time to push these things through with momentum. And so they're going to seek the most egregious changes right off the bat and try to, lump them all together, take advantage of the limited appetite and attention span. And there's also the fact that President Trump got a lot done. And so there's a lot that they need to undo because they just have such disdain for President Trump. And a lot of what President Trump did was through executive order. He didn't have a very cooperative Congress or a Congress with an appetite to legislate on the big issues. And so what can be done by executive order can be undone. And so there's a lot of folks going through, especially on the deregulatory agenda, a lot of the environmental stuff that have been just, biding their time for 4 years and have a playbook of stuff they want to do and ready to go. It's going to be a very tumultuous next couple of weeks.
Thanks for watching the Heritage Foundation's YouTube channel. With more than 500,000 members, we are the nation's largest conservative research and education institution. We believe the principles and ideas of the American founding are worth conserving and renewing. Please help us further our mission by subscribing to this channel and sharing our videos with your family and friends.